هادئة جدا.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on this Sunday. It's Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's top stories. Thousands of voters in southern Lebanon cast ballots in the country's third phase of municipal elections, expected to see victories for parties already in power. Voters head to polling stations to elect a new lawmaker for Jazin to succeed Michel Hello, who passed away back in June of 2014. And Turkey needs a new constitution, and the government's most important mission is to change the constitution and bring about an executive presidency, according to incoming Prime Minister Binali Yildirim. Thousands of voters in southern Lebanon cast ballots in the country's third phase of municipal and Mukhtar elections, expected to see victories for parties already in power. South Lebanon is considered to be the heartland of the Amal movement as well as Hezbollah, but some groups are attempting to challenge their established reign. The two Shia parties have formed joint lists in much of the region to crush competitions from local families and small parties. By noon, voter turnout for the two governorates stood at about 17%. The most prominent battle is expected to take place in Saida between the Future Movement and the popular Nasserite organization. The organization head and former Saida MP Usama Saad called on people to head to polling stations to vote for change, denying that his party was seeking to reach consensus with the rival list. Still on elections, voters head to polling stations to elect a new lawmaker for Jazin today as well, to succeed Michel Hello, who passed away in June of 2014. The by-election in the southern district are taking place in the South Lebanon as well as Nabatieh. Also, they get to vote in the country's third round of municipal elections. Change and Reform Bloc leader Michel Aoun called for voters to participate in the Jazin elections en masse. People stood in long lines to cast their ballots in the elections. Inside voting booths, voters filled out 3 ballots, one for the parliamentary by-elections, one for Jazin's 18 members municipal council, and one for Mukhtar's, as we say. The Jazin district, which has around 58,000 eligible voters, is represented by parliament by 3 lawmakers, 2 Maronites and 1 Milkite Catholic. The Free Patriotic Movement, the Lebanese Forces and the Kataib Party have forged an electoral alliance in Jazin to support businessman Amal Abu Zaid. A new message purporting to come from the spokesman of Daesh is calling on followers to launch attacks on the United States and Europe during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan, which begins in early June. God willing, the message said, let Ramadan be a month of calamity on the non-believers everywhere, especially by those soldiers and supporters of the Caliphate in Europe and America. The message suggesting attacks on military and civilian targets. The authenticity of the audio clip, purporting to be from Abu Muhammad al-Adnani and distributed by Twitter accounts that usually publish Daesh statements, could not be verified. The group, which seeks to establish a caliphate across the Middle East and beyond, has claimed deadly attacks over the past year on civilians in France, Belgium, and the United States. But the message made no mention of the Egypt Air disappearance flight that plunged into the Mediterranean just 4 days ago. Turkey needs a new constitution, and the government's most important mission is to change the constitution and bring about an executive presidency. The words of incoming Prime Minister Binali Yildirim. Yildirim made the comment at the Special Congress of the ruling AK party, where he is the sole candidate to become leader of the party and therefore premier. Yildirim is a longtime ally of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who founded the party and has repeatedly called for an executive presidency. 3 days after an Egypt Air flight plunged into the Mediterranean with 66 people on board, search teams scoured the sea for the bodies of the dead and clues on why it crashed. The Airbus A320 was en route from Paris to Cairo early on Thursday when it plummeted and turned full circle before vanishing from radar screens without its crew sending a distress signal. France's aviation safety agency said flight MS-804 had transmitted automated messages, including smoke in the cabin, as the disaster unfolded. Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri said the search, which has already yielded pieces of the aircraft, body parts, belongings of the deceased, will continue until the black boxes are found. What brought down the plane remains the main question. Egypt's aviation ministry has said terrorism is more likely than technical failure. But French Foreign Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault said all theories are being examined and none is favored. Coming up next, Iranian director Asghar Farhadi's latest film, The Salesman, premieres in Cannes. Stay with us. We'll have all the latest right here. Welcome back. You're watching the 16:20 o'clock news on Future Television. The United States conducted a drone strike against the leader of Afghan Taliban, likely killing him on the Pakistan side of the remote border region with Afghanistan in a mission authorized by U.S. President Barack Obama. The death of Mullah Akhtar Mansour, should it be confirmed, could further fracture the Taliban, an outcome that experts caution might make the insurgents even less likely to participate in long-stalled peace efforts. The mission, which included multiple drones, demonstrated a clear willingness by Obama to go after the Afghan Taliban leadership in Pakistan now that the insurgents control or contest more territory in Afghanistan than at any time since being ousted by a U.S.-led intervention in 2001. A State Department official said both Pakistan and Afghanistan were notified of the strike but did not disclose whether that notification was prior to it being carried out. The Yemeni government delegation is to rejoin UN-brokered peace talks in Kuwait with Shia rebels who control the capital, ending a 4-day boycott, according to the UN Special Envoy. The hard-won negotiations on ending a conflict that has killed more than 6,400 people and driven 2.8 million from their homes since March of last year has been interrupted by repeated boycotts by the government delegation. UN envoy Ismail Oud Sheikh Ahmed said that President Abdurrabbu Mansour al-Hadi had agreed to end the latest boycott after mediation by UN Chief Ban Ki-moon and Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Thani. Hadi supporters had balked at discussing rebel proposals for a unity government that they fear will sideline him and undermine his claim to international legitimacy. They insist that the talks should focus instead on enforcing an April 2015 UN Security Council resolution demanding the rebels' withdrawal from the capital and other territories they have overran since 2014. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry meets Myanmar's Aung San Suu Kyi in the capital of Naypyidaw to discuss issues around the country's Rohingya Muslim population. Take a look.
The reason why I say that we've got to be very firm about not using emotive terms is because emotive terms make it very difficult for us to find a peaceful and sensible resolution of our problems. What we are saying is that there are more important things for us to cope with than just the issue of nomenclature. If our well-wishers are not ready to cooperate with us, it will make our task that much more difficult, which is not to say that we're going to back away from it. We will still accept it as our responsibility, and we will try to do the best we can to resolve the problem to the benefit of both communities.
At the same time, we all understand, as a matter of fact, that there is a group here in Myanmar that calls itself Rohingya. We understand that. And we've used that term ourselves sometimes. But what Minister and I talked about today is very much in line with what she has just said. And that is that what's critical to focus on is solving the problem. The key to the lifting of the sanctions is really the progress that is made within Myanmar in continuing to move down the road of democratization.
Democratic Party presidential candidate Bernie Sanders highlighted during a campaign speech the main differences between himself and his rival, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Sanders also spoke about the minimum wage, which he wants to raise to $15 an hour, and Clinton wants to raise to $12. He also spoke about trade agreements and more. Clinton has turned much of her campaign efforts towards Republican frontrunner Donald Trump, who is now even with her in national polls for the November 8th presidential elections.
My opponent, Secretary Clinton, and I we have some very important differences of opinion. One of the differences is how we raise our money. I am very proud to tell you that I am the only candidate who does not have a super PAC. I do not want money from Wall Street or corporate America because we don't represent Wall Street or corporate America. We represent the working families of this country. Secretary Clinton has a number of super PACs and has received a lot of money from Wall Street. That's the difference. Secretary Clinton believes we should raise the minimum wage to $12 an hour. Not enough. We need to raise it to $15 an hour. Secretary Clinton has supported almost every one of these disastrous trade agreements, which have cost us millions of jobs. I have opposed every one of them, and we're going to have corporate America start investing in this country, not in China. One of the great crises that we are now seeing is the need of communities in our country and around the world to get clean drinking water. It's a growing crisis, and that is why I support a ban on fracking. That is not Secretary Clinton's perspective.
And the closing of the Cannes Film Festival, well, Iranian director Asghar Farhadi's latest film, called Foroshande, or The Salesman, premiered in Cannes. The film centers around a couple who find their middle-class intellectual life ripped apart after the wife is assaulted in her home. They try to go on, notably playing in Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman at a local theater, but the desire for revenge eats away at the husband. For Farhadi, who said the story came to him while working on another film in Spain, it was a chance for him to return to Iran to make a movie. With Foroshande, Farhadi again centers the drama around an intense relationship between a couple as they deal with the consequences of what has happened. One of the most respected Iranian filmmakers internationally, Farhadi said he felt positive about the state of cinema in his home country. His movie, Separation, won Best Foreign Film at the 2012 Oscars, and his new film is a contender for the prestigious Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. And on that note, we end our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Thousands of voters in southern Lebanon cast ballots in the country's third phase of municipal elections, expected to see victories for parties already in power. Voters head to polling stations to elect a new lawmaker for Jezine to succeed Michel Hello, who passed away in June 2014. And Turkey needs a new constitution, and the government's most important mission is to change the constitution, bring an executive presidency. The words of incoming Prime Minister Binali Yildirim. Those are your Sunday headlines live on Future Television. Have a good week ahead. I'm Yumna Naufal signing off.
هادئة جدا.